This is a really fun artist exercise when you're practicing on how to shade realistic looking hair. So the exercise itself is actually practice on a mountainscape. And as you can see here, all I did was create an up and down, kind of jagged line. It's not anything very cool or specific, but then in the middle, it's divided by another line to give it two sides. How this helps with practicing hair is on one side, I do sort of like a comb effect. And what I mean by that is it's kind of starting parallel from each other. All the lines are going to be parallel. And then on the opposite side, it creates like a fan effect where all of the lines are going to be coming from one point. So let's see how this looks. On here, I am just going to follow the lines all the way down. Then on the other side, I'm going to create a fan effect. So maybe I'm just going to start here and draw a line down. From this point, I am going to create a fan that goes like out all the way. And I'm only doing this on the right side. So maybe I find a different point and I'm going to start here and that's going to fan down that way. And maybe this time I go here and do another one. And you get to choose. There's like no right or wrong way of doing this. But after you've done this and you fill up your space the way that you want to, maybe I'm going to do here. After you fill up your entire space, and right now I'm actually just using a Sharpie. I am not going to make this into something super, detailed. But this is when you can start practicing how you would shade or shadow hair. Here are some things to think about. Anytime it dips down, you can make it a little bit darker and go like kind of all the way across. When it dips up, you're going to want to lighten up. So darker when it dips down, lighter when it goes up. And you're going to want to figure out a way to meet in the middle where it looks like a smooth transition. So I'm not going to leave it completely white, but I am going a lot lighter here. I don't know if you can tell. So anytime there's a dip down, I'm going to go a little bit darker here and kind of carry it to the dip down up here and bring it across. And right here, it kind of curls or curves up towards the light. And again, I'm just going to make it a little lighter. So that's what you would do on the left side, right? So this is as if you have kind of like wavy hair. You're just going to want to practice what that would look like on wavy hair. So let's see if I could find a really good one. How about here? It dips down a lot right here. So I can get really dark here. And I'm following the curve. Do you see how I'm creating the contour shape by going down? Think of it like ramen, like ramen noodles, when it curves up and over. We're going to think of the highest point as being the highest point of that curve and being the lightest highlight area there. So this is a really great way to start thinking about how you can do hair. So how would we do the same thing then if the hair is coming together, sort of like on the opposite side over here? When all of these merge together, it's going to get pretty dark. And then we can start to get lighter in the middle. And then when it comes down to a point again, we're going to start to shape that as well. So you're probably thinking this is a nice idea, right? This is not always the case, and that's absolutely right. But you're going to be able to look at your subject's hair and see where it is the brightest or the lightest. So for instance, when we are looking at her hair, I can give you a better example. You're going to be thinking more in chunks first before you get to details. So how would that look here? So let's pretend that we have a hair kind of like that. And let's say that our light is shining in this direction. That means that the light is going to be the brightest here, and it's going to be dark when it kind of curls under in this direction, away from that light source, and it's going to be dark over here. So when I paint hair, I like to think of the whole big chunk first. I don't think of individual hair lines because the lines will come later when you're figuring out where your details are going to be, and you're not going to draw in every single thing. So we kind of want to start by just creating everything a mid-tone value somewhere in the middle. And I wouldn't be doing this with a thin brush. I'd be doing this with a thicker brush, kind of just getting a mid-tone value in for the whole chunk of hair, whether it's like, you can find it on the steps of your color palette and figure out what the mid-tone value is. From here, this is where we are going to figure out where we're going to leave it as is. We don't want it too light unless their hair is extremely, extremely light in value. But normally, even with very blonde white hair, you're still going to be able to see the value or a mid-tone value that you can start from. And then from here, you can start to get darker and darker and darker. Um, so let's see here. Let me just start thinking about how that would look. We're probably going to have a shape of the hair too. Like it's probably going to be a little bit darker under here. And then start to come down this way. And obviously, with every single type of hair, you're going to want to be looking at your reference photo because every circumstance is going to be different. But basically, what I'm doing is just start filling in the shape of the highlights, the midtones and shadows that I would be seeing on that example, that model, right? And I'm still not doing individual strands. That would pretty much be only when I am getting to the very, very tail end after I finished everything else. So when would I start adding individual strands of hair to my painting? I would wait, and that would probably be the last thing I did on my painting altogether. So I typically like to add any like flyaway hairs, any hair details, flyaway hairs, eyelashes, eyebrows, or any like small one single line. I would get a very long liner brush and make sure that it's very diluted so I don't mess it up. And at the very, very, very end of my painting, that's when I would decide where I need it. Because you don't need the lines everywhere. Then it just gets chaotic, right? So when you're doing your last minute hairs, you're only going to pick and choose the ones that are most important or in areas where it kind of like makes sense to go and add like a few more, make it look a little bit more natural. But if you overdo it, then it looks a little bit strange and it's very hard to go to kind of erase your final details because they tend to be your hardest lines. They tend to be some of the most like distinct lines, like the difference between this line or this line. This line blends in more, right? And this one stands out more. I mean, that's how we see things too. So anytime you're adding a hard line, you want to make sure that you're very intentional with it. And actually, I kind of don't like to do very many hard lines until the very, very end in very specific areas. And I take my time with it and I don't mess around. I'm not just like, oh, I'm just going to put it anywhere or whatever. At the very end, that's when I really make sure that I am doing everything with intention. But one thing that you can do that gives it a little bit more, where you start to shape it a little bit more, is every big chunk of hair has other chunks of hair within that same chunk, if that makes sense. So those are things that you can kind of play with a little bit more if you're starting to want to play with the difference between maybe a strand of hair that is up close as opposed to a strand of hair that is further blending in. Like for instance, with this model in my painting, I know that I spent the most amount of time here where some of those highlights are starting to show through and there are individual strands of hair within that bigger chunk of hair that is creating like these little highlights. And I had to be very intentional with those as well because they're still thin and they are a lot lighter. It's not something that I can like blend too much. But I did something like this where I was still very light and loose. And then I can kind of shape it where I'm not pushing down too hard and creating too hard of a line that stands out and looks a little bit unnatural. The great thing about glazing is that you're always working in very transparent layers that makes it blurry, and you're kind of getting less blurry as you go along. And that's really what gives it the illusion of it being super natural and super realistic.